What's up, God bless, and how are you? This is a day late, as I said yesterday on the Instagram story, because I had a few drinks it was my birthday yesterday, and turned 22. So not as depressing as turning 21, in my opinion. I think like turning 22, it's kind of like 22 is sort of like fifth year, and it's sort of like second year. And now you're probably thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? It's sort of like fifth year and it's sort of like second year. I'm saying, right, third year and sixth year when you're in school, yeah, they're big deals, they're depressing. There's a lot of fucking pressure on you, right? Because you're like, right, I have huge exams coming up at the end of this year, and at the time it seems like the biggest thing in the world. I think ages 18 and 21 are like that, or particularly 21 and 30, from what I've heard. It's sort of like that. It's sort of like, if you don't have your shit together by those ages, there's this big kind of burden on you, where it's like, well, what the fuck am I going to do now? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm meant to have it all figured out by now, when in reality you're not, because even at 30 you're still young. Especially fucking 21, you're still young. You seem to think that you're meant to have it all figured out, and I think it's there's like a big increase in mental health issues around the ages of 19, 20, 21, in especially young men, because I'm gonna change this mic again, just turn it up, because especially like you think you're supposed to have it all figured out by then, and you're not. You know, if you have it figured out by then, happy fucking days, good on you. Do you know what I mean? Hats off to you, mate. But if you don't, it's perfectly normal. It's completely fine if you don't have it figured out by then, because life just goes on and you change personalities so many times. You don't even know who you are. You don't know who your future self is. You know what I mean? And there's one interesting thing my therapist actually told me. You know, in a movie, when they're like, say, a time traveling movie, and they're like, they have to go back in time and fix something, save the day or some shit. Well, and they say to each other, right, go back in time, but don't even so much as move a stick, because you could change the future, right? You are the fella from the future back in time every single day. You can do tiny little things to have a knock-on effect to change your future. And I thought that was really interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you, for example, right, if you can think of, say, if you smoke weed, if you're like, oh, sometimes I wish I went back in time and I just never smoked that first joint. There's a habit, like if you were there now, you could have very easily not smoked that and not picked up that habit. Same way now, you could go out tomorrow and do heroin, and that would change your fucking life for the future. Or you could go out tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm going to do a 10k walk tomorrow, and you could fall in love with this low intensity cardio type exercises, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting way to look at it. As far as mental health goes, I'm going to leave that this week. I think every single week I touch on mental health, or most weeks I touch on mental health, and I think this week I'm just going to do a normal fucking podcast. Do you know what I mean? Because yeah, it needs to be talked about all the time and stuff, but I'm just in the humour of talking about other interesting stuff, to be honest. But this week what we're going to be talking about is the police brutality in America, the rioting and the looting and what's going on over there. We're going to be talking about fascism as well, and we're going to be talking about a little bit about propaganda and media propaganda. And hold on, this thing, is this recording? I thought this wasn't recording here, but yeah, we're gonna be looking at that. We're gonna start off by looking at the propaganda and how media is completely just, it wants it to be a left versus right thing. It wants it to be a black versus white thing. It wants it to be like the media. What the media wants is, it wants conflict. It wants tension. It doesn't want the people to be one-sided, because then the establishment collapses. Then, do you know what I mean? If it's the people against the police, if it's the people against the government, that's not a good place for the government to be in. Do you know what I mean? But if it's the government against whites against blacks, and they're kind of all against each other, that's good for the government, because they can third party you. If you're ever playing Warzone and you see two people fighting, it's always a good chance of you winning if you sneak up from behind while they're fighting each other and fucking take them both out. And that's a lot of the times what the higher power is trying to do here. And it's looking at the people and it's saying, well, we don't want them teaming up. That's the last thing we want. So then they bring out a news article. Look what these conservatives did. Look what these leftists did. And then after they bring that out, they realise that that's what'll work. That's what'll keep the people in the trap that they're in. Sorry, I just had to have a vape break there. But what was I gonna say? So the media and stuff and the propaganda. I mean, people just think when they think of propaganda, they think of World War II propaganda. That's what everyone just thinks of the army needs you. These old American type billboards and stuff like, you're gonna be a hero, young man. You're gonna get that lady and stuff like this. That's what people think of when they think of propaganda. But in actual fact, like, propaganda is as alive today as it's ever been, and it comes from both sides. People say, oh yeah, no, it's the left, it's the right. But you saying that, you're feeding into the fucking propaganda. You're letting it convince you that that's what it is, when in actual fact it's both sides. I've got one example that I particularly want to read right now. If people can disagree with me if they want on this, but I'm only reading facts because I've looked into this case. I'm only reading facts, right? People, if they want to say, you're shaming this, you're shaming that, I'm fucking not. All I'm doing is reading facts, right? So look at this, right? So I can't look at it. I'm going to read it out. You've probably seen it. So there's two pictures, right? There's a picture of a mixed race girl, and there's a picture of a white man, right? And it says under the picture of the white man, Brock Turner only served 3 months for raping an unconscious woman, because serving jail time would, quote, ruin his life, right? Meanwhile, teen Cynthia Brown, I think that's how you pronounce it, has to serve 51 years in prison for killing her rapist. But please tell me more about how white male privilege is a myth, right? Now look, I fully believe in white privilege, right? Not believe in it. Jesus, no, I don't believe in it. I'm saying it exists, right? I wish it didn't. It does exist, right? Now, that has thousands of likes and thousands of shares on Instagram. I've seen a few people who I have on my newsfeed share it, right? But I looked into the case because I thought, well, surely that would be bigger if this Brock Turner fella is a fucking scumbag anyway. That's true about him, right? Relatively. But which he deserves way more, right? But this other girl, we call her Cynthia, right? Because it's Cyntoya. I can't pronounce it right. Cynthia, we call her, right? Her story is this, right? The guy didn't rape her, right? He picked her up when she was walking down the road, and he asked to pay for sex, right? He thought she was a prostitute. She said she would for 200, right? He said, how about 150? She agreed. She asked to go to a hotel. He said no one was home at his house and they could go there. She agreed. They hung out at his house, right? And she said she was tired and pretended to sleep. And she admitted in court that she was waiting for him to fall asleep just so she could just leave, right? There was no sex. He didn't attack her. He didn't have sex with her. There was no rape, right? She said they were in bed together and he went to roll over. She said to grab a gun. And she had time to get her gun from her purse and shoot him in the back of the head, right? Then proceeded to steal all of his guns, wallet, and vehicle. The crime scene photos show he wasn't reaching for anything at all, and he was like the autopsy shows he was shot in his sleep. Right? She was a voluntary runaway from a good home, and her pimp, she had a pimp at the time, didn't even know she was with this man. She killed and robbed him. She killed and robbed him. The only place this man was in the wrong was picking a woman up off the streets, which is completely true, right? Whom he didn't know was 16. She looked like a grown woman walking the streets. This is what the case says, the case file said. She definitely didn't deserve 60 years, but she deserves 20. This is what the case says. And people need to read their facts before throwing things out. And I agree with that, right? Like, this is a prime example. I'm not here to say who's in the right and who's in the wrong. This is a prime example of these news articles that want to make you think there's a worse issue than there is. Now, I'm not saying there's not a worse race. The race issue isn't bad. There's a fucking horrible racism issue going on in the world. All I'm saying is these type of articles are made so we hate each other more, and it's a fucking joke. Like, for example, in that one, this girl killed her rapist. When you read that, you say, yes, do you know what I mean? Good, she killed her rapist, right? She was a prostitute. He picked her up, brought her to his house, wrongly, which you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go out and get prostitutes because that's fucking degrading. Degrading to women and degrading to yourself to spend money on fucking sex. He brought her to his house. They didn't have sex, and then she pretended to fall asleep. He fell asleep too. The crime scene says this. The court case says this. The court case says everything. He wasn't reaching for anything. She says, oh, he was reaching for something. Obviously, because, you know, any fucking lawyer will say, or any solicitor will say, oh, yeah, make sure it's self-defense. Make sure it's self-defense. He was allegedly reaching for something. She blew his head off. From the shot him in the back of the head while he slept, the autopsy showed. While he slept. And then she robbed everything from his house and left. But these fucking media cunts put it in such a way that this heroic young girl was kidnapped and then killed her rapist. And it's like, yeah, right, the court could have gotten it wrong. Maybe he kidnapped her and brought him to his house. But considering she was a prostitute, which, yeah, okay, she probably had a really tough life, right? That's really unfortunate. Any girl who has to resort to prostitution, or someone who has a pimp, it's awful, and I feel completely sorry for her. But don't try and make it a thing where she heroically killed this rapist by shooting him in the back of the head while he slept, and he didn't rape her, he didn't have sex with her. None of that happened. She actually just robbed him. She just went to his house, strategically planned to go to his house, pretend to sleep. Then when he slept, she took his life and then took all of the stuff in his house. All his guns, all his money, his wallet, everything. And left him dead in his house. But that's just one example of it. And I want to look at some propaganda from World War II, right? So, this one I'm looking at here. It's a poster of a bunch of army men lined up. And it says, this space is reserved for a fit man. Will you fill it? So, back then, it was real kind of like macho man, fucking, I'll be a real man and fight for your country, right? And the thing is, like, it's playing on the emotions of people back then. It was like, oh, I need to go and I need to fight for my country. And it's sort of, hold on, I'm gonna look at the other one I had saved. And it was, I have to go and fight for my country. This is if I don't, I'm not a man. If I don't, I'm not helping the people. And it was kind of, again, it was the same thing. Each country just wanted the people to be in war with each other, and it was like the more the people had, they had the nations by a string, and they still do today. Is what I'm trying to say. Like they'll have these propaganda type posts on the internet. And like it's kind of the people, it's not just the people against the police, it's the people against each other. They want the people to be against each other. They want, the thing is, they don't want change. They don't want the people working together, because if we're not working together, there's no such like, if an enemy of my enemy is a friend thing. There's none of that. There's just us versus them, and they don't want that. They don't want us teaming up. You know what I mean? And yeah, so that's kind of it with the propaganda. I had a few pictures saved. A lot of them are in German. I kind of just liked the picture of them. I didn't know what they were saying. Like there's one heroic one here of Hitler, and a blonde smiling German, by the looks of it, German man with a swastika in the background. Blonde, beautiful looking. You know, just perfect man. And like another one of a family with the big eagle behind them, and it's just cradling them, and there's this beautiful blonde German family, this pure family they'd call it. And it's just, at the time, if you lived in Germany, and people would be like, and they let it happen, but yeah, well, they didn't have a choice, because all they were seeing was the propaganda of the Japanese are evil, the Americans are evil, everyone else is evil except for us. We're fighting for something that's right here. And that's why, that's the problem. Each and every side thinks that they're fighting for something that's right. And I don't think it's a left versus right thing. I don't at all. I don't think it's a left versus right thing whatsoever. I think it's racists in the world that are making this world horrible, obviously. And then on top of that, then it's been allowed by the police. And then when people fight back, There's people fighting back, firstly, in the wrong ways. Because look at Martin Luther King, peaceful protests and all. And look, I'm all for smashing the place up, right? I'm just going to say that straight out. I'm all for smashing the place up. But don't go out as someone with a fucking mask on and burn down a social housing unit. Don't do that because a fellow black man died. Don't do that, because you're destroying your own community. You know what I mean? Like the people over in America, the looters and stuff like that, majority of them, they aren't even out for the actual death of George Floyd, the horrific, horrible, fucking twisted death that I cannot stop thinking about. They aren't even out for that. Like, to be honest, and I don't care if I get taken down off YouTube for this, I condone going and burning down police stations in America. If they want to go down and burn down police stations, so fucking be it. Be mad at the police, right? Because I seen a great comedian I know. He said, I love comedy more than anything. And he said, but if it meant to be a comedian, I had to stand by while other comedians killed black people and just turn a blind eye. I'm just as bad and I'd give it up. And it's the truth, right? So if you're going to blame all policemen, I do not blame you whatsoever. Blame them all. Because if you're willingly part of this fucking shit it's like Hollywood. It's like Hollywood in the circle of rapists. You know what I mean? Everyone knew what Harvey Weinstein was doing. Everyone knew what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. What's the story with those German sounding second names? It's like if you have those, you're just fucking descending from Nazis and you're just going to rape people. But yeah, people knew what was going on, so they're just as to blame. The policemen who know what's going on are just as to fucking blame. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just as to blame. But we're going to look at a bit of, well, not a bit of, we're going to look at a few facts about fascism, where fascism started. It started in Italy, and kind of one of the first kind of dictators to bring it in to power was Mussolini, as you probably studied him in school. And just a few facts about him. He was expelled from school, and he was influenced as well by Les Miserables, you know, that musical. And there was a lot of influence with that. And it's kind of, if you look at the Blind Boy podcast about collective art, there was a collective art movement done in Italy, and they initially, like, they do these art shows or these kind of like really weird kind of shows where the audience would be involved, and they'd be as much a member of the show as anyone else. And then this actually became one of the first kind of fascist parties or the fascist movement, because it's like the people together only caring about us sort of thing. And in a sense, it's if that makes sense. I'll explain before I'll go off Mussolini for a second. So fascism in itself, right? I need to, because I have the definition of it, but I want to read it out. Yeah, so here it is here. Fascism is a form of far-right, authoritarian ultranationalism characterised by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, as well as a strong regimentation of society of the economy, which came to prominence in the early 20th century Europe. So it came in by means of the likes of Mussolini, and it actually started in Italy as well. And so Mussolini was a dictator from 1883 to 1945, and he marched on Rome in 1922, and he became an Italian dictator in 1925. And fascism itself found supporters in many Western nations. It attracted people who were worried about public order and unemployment and personal freedom. It's the same way, it's the kind of thing, what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of road that Trump takes. It's like, you've got a sad life, I'm going to help you blame other people. I think that's what fascism does. Fascism it picks out these sad people, these far-right people who are upset with their own lives, and they need people to blame. They need a group of people to blame collectively. And then if they can, then it's like, oh, well, it's going to be all better. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion anyway. I'm just going to read off a couple of facts about it and then give my opinion on them, because I think that'll be a good thing to do. But the National Socialist German Workers' Party was founded in 1920. The Phalange, a fascist movement founded in 1933, took part in the Spanish Civil War. So, who were the Nazis, right? The Nazis, German nationalist socialists, were known as Nazis. Their leader, obviously, was Adolf Hitler. During the 1930s, he provided work for the unemployed and built up Germany's forces illegally, right? So he was building up this country, this savior, you know, because after World War One, fucking hell, had a speech impediment there. After World War One, Germany was in shambles. The workforce was terribly low. The only people who had work and money at that time were the Jewish people. So sad little Hitler and the sad little nationalists needed someone to blame for the country's failures. They needed to turn and say, well, it's the Jews' fault, you know. That's what it is. So that's why he gave the people a safe haven. He was like, look, I'm your savior, I'm the Messiah. Some psychopathic Americans actually think that he was the second coming of Christ. I've seen a thing that's saying that before. Getting revenge on the Jews for crucifying him. I swear to God, I've actually seen that. To some people like that in the world, it's crazy to think. But Nazi thugs bullied, cheated, and murdered their way into power. They were extreme racists, as we know, consumed by the hatred of the Jewish people. Right, so Adolf Hitler, 1889 to 1945. Right, so he was Austrian born, and he served in Germany in the regiment during World War One. He was just a regular foot soldier, and he was embittered by defeat. He organised the Nazis and their seizure of power in Germany. As dictator, Hitler persecuted Jews and crushed opposition. His invasions of neighbouring lands led to World War II eventually. And as you probably all know, anyone know, I'm not going to talk about World War II here because I'm going to do a World War II only podcast. And so I'm going to leave out the Spanish Civil War and who joined the war, because that's interesting about the Soviet Union and stuff, but we don't need to look at that right now because we're not talking about that. We're talking about fascism. So basically, to put it into perspective, fascism, it's still very much alive today, and I think there's a lot of passive fascism going on in America, especially. For example, like, I can't directly say Trump is this crazy racist fascist cunt because I just think he's kind of stupid. I don't know, but then again, he's smart as well in a kind of bad way. Like, he's dangerous. But I think his use of words, people say, oh, his use of words is just bad. But, like, I mean, if you're gonna, this is what really annoys me, right? I'm kind of rambling again, but people say, like, so there was a peaceful, quote unquote, peaceful protest about the what do you call it? The restrictions, the lockdown restrictions. All the conservative hillbillies, they were out. I'm not saying if you're a conservative, you're a hillbilly, but if you're a hillbilly, you're most likely conservative. So they were out, and they were saying, we deserve our freedom, hurdy-dirty, right? And then he put up on Twitter, these people are good people, you know, they just want their freedom. And then when the Black Lives Matter protest was going on because of George Floyd, he said, these thugs busting up their city and blah, blah, blah. And you'll have Trump supporters say, yeah, well, the first protest was completely peaceful. The second protest, they actually burnt down their fucking city. But if you're Donald Trump and you're sitting in your fucking stupid White House, right? Ironically, it's called that. And when you're a fucking racist. If you're sitting there, right, and then you put up on Twitter, if you put up on Twitter, right, calling the Black Lives Matter protest thugs, if you do that willingly, well, then you're a bigger fucking retard than we thought, because you know how much backlash that's going to store. That's what I'm saying. People think like that. People know that backlash is going to happen from certain posts. Do you know what I mean? It's planned. Shit like that is planned. They want no matter what dictator, no matter what Socialist Party leader, any type of leader in today's day and age, they want people to be divided. They really do. And it's like, because when we're divide and conquer, it's where divide and conquer comes from. If we're split up, we're not strong. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not making this podcast for the big revolutionary fucking everyone go out and join teams and kill the fucking, take the government down. I'm not saying that. I'm not an anarchist. I'm just saying that they want people to be split up and to not work together, because that's when we're weak and they're strong. That's where they still hold control. As opposed to without facts, without anything like that, as opposed to my opinion of what's going on in America right now, I think it was a long time coming. I really do. I think there was way too many occasions of these just young black men, black women, just being targeted. This, like, knowing that when you go outside your house every day, there's a fucking chance that you'll be shot because they think you're someone else, and the only excuse they'll have is, I was just doing my job, sir. You look like somebody you weren't. No, it doesn't fucking work like that. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. I was just doing my job. The racial profiling thing is crazy fucking high over there at the moment. It's crazy high everywhere. There's racism going on all over the world. All over the world. And people are, it's been turned a blind eye for too long. For way too long. Just because it's not talked about and just because it's not recorded doesn't mean it's not happening. For years and years it's been happening without anybody saying or intervening or doing anything, and it's time for it to stop. I personally think, right, the political correctness of the world today is a bit of a joke, right? I do. I think that it's a joke that you can be prosecuted for misgendering someone in California. I think that's bullshit. If you can be prosecuted for misgendering someone. That part of the world at the moment, that whole situation is just backwards. But now if you're insulting someone because they're transgender, yeah, okay, that's verbal assault. Do you know what I mean? Fuck you. You're a dickhead. You shouldn't insult someone like that. But I think as far as racism goes, I think it should be the worst punishment possible for someone who's racist. Do you know what I mean? You're doing it for everyone else. You know what I mean? Fat girls now are looked at as the most beautiful girls in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, body positivity. Great. I'm all for that. You know what I mean? Be happy in your skin. As long as you're healthy, be happy in your skin. And then if you say anything to an overweight girl, I'm saying overweight now when I said fat girls a few seconds ago, so no, fuck that. I'm not trying to censor anything. That's the thing, even that. I'm just trying to, I don't want to say anything to offend anybody. I'm just giving my fucking opinion. If you don't like it, you don't like it, you know what I mean? I'm all for everyone being happy, but I think everything should be equal. I think if you're going to make a big, massive deal about you're not allowed to call girls fat, you're not allowed to make fun of this, you're not allowed to make fun of that, then do the same thing with racism. There should be a zero tolerance approach to racists, whatever your fucking reasoning is. Do you know what I mean? There's none of this. Well, no, he has a point there because them blacks. No, fuck you. You're not allowed to be racist. Racism doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Stop being angry at a group of people just because your life is shit. That's all I'm saying. Stop being angry to the racist policemen out there who got bullied in school, like the little bitch that they were. I'm not saying bitches get bullied. I'm saying the policemen who are racist are bitches. If out to the policemen who got bullied in school and think that they can just racially profile black people or any other race, fuck you. To be honest, fuck you. And the people who saying all lives matter, fuck you as well. That is actually genuinely pissing me off. All lives matter. We know all lives matter. We do. We know. We get it. Okay, we get it. White people are important too. We know, right? They've been important forever. We've ran the world forever. Give someone else a few minutes in the spotlight. Do you know what I mean? For fuck's sake. It's not, there's not fucking tons of videos going around of white people getting killed for no reason by the police. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, that video is just so evil and just horrific that it's just, I think it snapped a lot of people into motion and just thought, well, do you know what? No, fuck this. We have to stop this. And how long am I even going on here? 28 minutes. That's not too bad. Around the half an hour mark. But yeah, this week was a bit more serious, and I just wasn't touching on mental health this week, but I was just wanted to talk about that, the racists in the world and the fucking backwards propaganda and the fascism, and how it's still very much fucking relevant today, and just really is there. And like, with, as I was saying, with Trump and the kind of passive fascism, and it's like, oh no, we'll build a wall, and then people say, oh no, well, he meant this, he didn't mean build a wall to keep all the Mexicans out, he meant this. Yeah, well, don't open up your fucking if you're running for presidency, don't use your first point of making the place better as I'm going to build a wall. Do you know what I mean? Along the border. Say something else. Say I'm going to help employment. But then again, going back to the fucking media thing, a lot of things he said is blown out of proportion, and a lot of things that he says are taken out of context. And yeah, I think I'll leave it there for now. But I mean, I have the equipment actually. I have the new equipment arrived. My 2 mics arrived. My mixer arrived, and I have XLR cables are on its way, and I have the soundproofing on its way. So next few weeks now, this little studio gig will be set up. Hopefully, but yeah, bit of a rant today. I say that at the end of every podcast, but yeah, a bit of a rant this week. Yeah, I'm probably still a bit moody from my hangover yesterday, but I think the things I said had to be said. Don't trust, if you're going to take something from this podcast today, don't trust the media, because they're fucking filling your minds with shit. Don't take sides, apart from it's everybody against racists. That's the only side you need to take. Fuck the political side of it. But yeah, hopefully the fucking sun comes out again in the next couple of days, because I need a bit of vitamin D again. But come here, have a good one. Enjoy your day. Stay comfy. That's what that is. Get a bit of food into you. Get a big takeaway. You deserve it. Go on. Peace out.